Mega Man is a franchise that has been with the gaming world ever since the dawn of the Nintendo Entertainment System, and it is very unfortunate that we may never see another Mega Man game again. Handheld fans, however, can indulge in the Mega Man series through a lot of ways. Nintendo 3DS fans obviously can play Nintendo DS Mega Man games, but they can also play Mega Mans 1 through 6 through Virtual Console. PlayStation Vita fans have a very large library of backwards compatibility games through the PS1 library. As of last week, another game has been added to the PS1 library on PSN, allowing PS Vita owners as well as PSP owners to experience more Mega Man on the go. Here is my official retro review of the handheld debut of Mega Man Legends. Mega Man Legends takes place thousands of years after the events of all of the other Mega Man series, and in this timeline, the world is almost completely covered by endless ocean. The only land in the world consists of small islands that contain ruins that archaeologists known as diggers dive into and plunder for technology to keep the world going. One such group is a young boy named Mega Man, along with Beryl and his granddaughter Roll. I know you already can hear the Star Fox 64 reference that Capcom did in this game. Upon returning from a dig, their airship crashes on an island, and once there, they must find a way to repair their airship as well as defending the island from a family of pirates known as the Bonds that are attacking the island and stealing the treasure. The story of Mega Man Legends is unique because it's the first time in the series that they actually added a huge amount of story. The Mega Man X series did have a fair amount of story to it, but Mega Man Legends made it almost as much story focused as it was gameplay focused. Mega Man Legends, unlike many other games from the series, is a 3D action-adventure game with platforming and combat elements thrown into the mix. It's a lot different than the typical Mega Man formula, because instead of going through missions and stages, you have this huge 3D hub world that you go and explore to talk to NPCs, go to shops, explore various areas, as well as finding dungeons where you can go in and freely roam around to fight enemies and eventually boss fights. When you begin the game, you're introduced to this hub world. As I said a moment ago, there are a lot of different things you can do here, from exploration to talking to NPCs to shops. Shops come in two forms. There's the shop on Apple Street in the city, and there is the support car where you can get new equipment from Roll. In the regular shop, you can buy new weapons and equipments. This can range from armor upgrades, new types of weapon upgrades, or items that can help you refill the health gauge while you're down in a dungeon. The support car is a little bit different. Basically, the support car is item development. As you go through dungeons, you will find various items you can take back to Roll, and she can create new equipment for you with them. The biggest thing is that the equipment Roll develops for you is required for various dungeons in the game. The drill arm, special weapon for example, has to be used to unlock and take away certain walls to go to secret rooms that are needed to advance the story. Now, the combat is something that Mega Man fans will be familiar with. This is a 3D game, but you have the basic rundown of a Mega Man game where you can fire off shots with your Buster Gun or use your special weapons, which have limited ammunition. The only difference is that Roll makes your special weapons instead of you acquiring them from bosses. The main depth of the combat system comes with the fact that the Buster Gun can be upgraded with various add-ons that can increase the power, quantity, range, or speed of your shots. One of the last things to talk about gameplay-wise is the difficulty. This is a Mega Man game after all from the PlayStation era, so you should expect a pretty high amount of difficulty when you're going through here. Every dungeon is substantially harder than the last, requiring various pieces of equipment to make the dungeon easier. Boss fights are also very hard, requiring you to fight them a few times to get boss patterns going before you can actually go through and defeat them with ease, even with the item health refill. I normally don't talk about controls, but in Mega Man Legends, it's very important to talk about controls. The control scheme is a little tricky on the PlayStation Vita because Mega Man Legends uses the L1 and R1 triggers as well as the R2 and L2 triggers. So I'm going to tell you in this video, just like I have in the written review, my most helpful control scheme on the Vita. You go into the control options to set up a custom scheme. So what I would suggest you do is redirect the D-pad for movement to the left analog stick, and redirect L1 and R1 to both the D-pad and the right analog stick. This gives you some dual analog controls, as well as the fact that you can use L1 and R1 at ease with the X button to do the dodge roll that's required for some boss fights. Then the rest of it is pretty straightforward, where you can redirect R2 to the R trigger for locking onto enemies. I'm just noting this now because it's very important, because there are a lot of things that can make the game hard, and having a custom control scheme will help you by a long shot. The thing I'm going to say bad about the controls are the camera controls. The game feels clunky in general because you can only really run forward and backwards and then straight from left to right, so it feels almost like tank controls, but a little bit different than the tank controls found in games like Silent Hill and Resident Evil 2. The camera is a nuisance in a lot of boss fights. The camera is moved with L1 and R1, but the camera moves very slowly. It'll start moving just fine, and in some boss fights it'll move fine, stop for a minute, and then move extremely slow. This is especially annoying in the final boss fight, where the boss will react and start new attacks before you have a chance to move the camera to be able to see what they're doing. As far as the presentation is concerned, the visuals aren't too bad. It would look a little better if they used cel-shaded visuals, but there's a lot of detail in here. It's definitely not the worst PlayStation game out there. I do have a couple issues with the performance though. Frame rate is an issue. When you go into the marketplace on Apple Street, you will see huge frame drops. There are some other areas where the frame drops will lower. Most of the time it's not in combat, but every once in a while it drops a little bit in combat. It's nowhere near as bad as it is on Apple Street, but it is noticeable. The other issue I have with the presentation is the audio. There are a lot of cutscenes, especially towards the end of the game, where the audio and the visuals will not be in sync with one another. Sometimes the video or the image will lag for 5, 10, 15 seconds, but the audio won't. So when it resumes, you'll be hearing the audio about 10 or 15 seconds ahead of what you're actually seeing on the screen. Mega Man Legends is a game that a lot of people thought would never come to the PlayStation Network due to various licensing issues with the materials that are in the game. Now on the downside, it does have a few technical problems and some very clunky camera controls that are a bit of a nuisance to get used to. If you can look past the irritating camera, this is definitely a fun and colorful 3D adventure for any Mega Man fan that wants Legends on the go. PlayStation Vita Reviews rates Mega Man Legends a 7 out of 10. If you'd like to comment on this, feel free to below, or head to our site and forum at vitareviews.net to comment, join the forum, look at PlayStation TV compatibility, or donate to my cause.